How can the body heal itself? How can the body get rid of Lyme by itself? Those are some things that I've been asked since sharing my story, and I want to answer those questions. The best way for me to do so is to tell you about my full experience, which I have not done so publicly. If you've been following along, I started getting sick in 2017. That led me down a path of 13 different doctors, hundreds of tests, progressively getting worse, and emergency room visits, feeling like I was having a heart attack, high blood pressure, cholesterol, you name it, it was basically going wrong, while on the outside, I did look very healthy. What didn't show was that I was feeling like I was dying inside and I was begging for God to take me. So that went on for 2 years. In 2019, in August of 2019, I was finally diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease by a Lyme literate doctor. That was a huge relief because it was better than MS, which they were throwing around, and ALS. So it was chronic Lyme disease, and while it was a relief to have an answer, reality started to set in that this was chronic, that I had already gotten really sick so far in just a couple of years. I was probably going to end up in a wheelchair. And so it felt like just everything was being taken away. I was losing control of my body. I didn't want to go on. Every day was miserable, and I don't even know how I made it through some days. But after 2 weeks after my diagnosis, kind of spiraling down even further, my daughter asked my wife, and my wife shared with me that, will Daddy ever be happy again? And while that was kind of like a punch in the gut, at my lowest point there, it just flipped a switch within me, lit this fire. And I set an intention that I was going to beat Lyme disease no matter what. Like, I was adamant about it. And I just affirmed that I was going to do it. And I just kept affirming it day after day. Good day, bad day, and I still had some really bad days. And I changed my habits. I changed the way I spoke, the way I thought. Like, there was no more doubt that I wasn't going to get better. It wasn't really even a matter if, when, or how. I didn't have any idea how. I was just on this mission that I was going to beat it. 4 weeks later, after setting that intention, while I had gotten significantly better in 4 weeks, significantly, to the point where I didn't even care I was sick anymore. I was happier, I was feeling better, but I still felt weighed down. So I had always struggled with depression as far as I can remember. And I had thoughts of suicide throughout my life. Planned how to do it, never did it. And I found a way to push through it, or put on a mask for the world to look like I was happy, successful, driven, passionate. But those were all coming from a place of lack, fear, doubt, and emptiness. So I tried to achieve things. So I'd gotten to that point, but I still felt all this weight. Like, there has to be more to life than this. So I was standing outside on October 13th, 2019, and I was just doing some stuff in the yard, listening to some motivational and inspirational videos. And I just had enough. Like I said, I'd been feeling better, happier, but it's not that I was losing the battle, but I just had enough. And so I said, God, I give everything to you. And boom, in that second, I was completely, entirely healed. But it was more than that. So instantly, as soon as I said that, it felt like this huge surge of electricity flowed through my body. Huge, just an explosion of energy. And the best way I can explain the next part is I had a near-death experience, an NDE. It's the best way I can explain it. Now, I didn't physically die that I'm aware of, but in some way, the veil was removed, and I had an experience. I don't know how better else to explain it than an experience. It's very hard to explain. But what I now know is that it was my spiritual awakening. And part of that information that I downloaded or experienced was that the body can heal itself, that it is a miraculous machine. But I had to do my part in healing myself. Pray as if you have already received, and you shall receive it. Now, I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but when I set that intention, I had started already changing things. The intention had to come first, the desire. But then I had to feel worthy and love myself. I had to forgive. I had to let go. I had to surrender and trust. And those are all things that are very uncomfortable and very scary, but I was so adamant. And it was the affirmations that I had started doing. Like I said, I didn't know I was doing any of this. And I want to say that because you don't have to have all the answers. I could never see more than one step in front of me, but it just was one step. Whether it was one step like it felt backwards or forwards, I kept saying, I am getting better. I am stronger than this disease. I'm not only going to get better, but I'm going to be 120% better. And it came true. But I had to do my part. Now, if it's God for you, universe, or the divine, that's completely fine. I experienced that. I'll put it this way. I kind of asked that question, and it's okay. So from here on out, I'm going to say the divine. So there is a supernatural aspect to this. There most certainly is. But what I understand now is that exists within me. That I am one with that divine presence. I am an expression of. And so it was my spiritual awakening. It was the releasing of the energy because I had let go of all fear, doubt, worry, shame, all those negative things that I was holding on to. And it was a death in a way that the old me died. I had to die to the old state to be healed. I couldn't be the same person I was before and be a healthy person. I had to become that person in my mind first and feel the emotion of that now. And even before I physically felt better, I had to keep affirming it. And that was like a process that I was shown that I was able to heal myself. And basically I had to choose to heal myself. It was already done when I had asked for it, but it was up to me to bring it forth into my reality, into my life. The other thing I fully understand now is that the body is energy first. At a cellular level, we are cells that are vibrating. Through thought, in spoken word, and beliefs, we can change the vibration of those cells. If you hold on to a lot of anger, frustration, resentment, any of those negative emotions like I did, it's what kept me sick for so long, because it's a block of that life force energy that flows through me, that conscious intelligence that keeps my heart beating, breathing, without me thinking about it. It blocked that healing energy that flows through me that's keeping me healthy now, because I keep a direct flow of energy through me. So that's why it's important to work through traumas and those types of things. If I would not have done that, I would have remained sick. But it was my faith, my affirmation, and then the letting go. I had to reprogram my subconscious. What I now understand as well is that our subconscious mind does make up 95% of the day. So if it feels like every day is just redundant and those things, you have to break those cycles. So I had spiraled down because thoughts become things, and I made myself sicker by thinking I was going to get worse. Had I continued to imagine that I was in that wheelchair and felt it, I would have ended up in that wheelchair. But because I changed my outlook on life, my mindset, that I stopped looking at Lyme disease as something bad. Only when I changed the way I thought and spoke about things could I see them differently. What I now know as well is that the eyes don't really see, they're kind of windows, and that my brain is what gives meaning to things. Now, for me, and this is my experience, but what I now understand as well is that I had made myself sick. Not that it was all in my head, and some of you are probably asking, well, doesn't Lyme disease come from a tick? Well, I had what I call a life review, and I could see all the choices I had made in my life. And all those choices I had made because I had felt not enough, lack, resentment, fear. I had made choices from a place of fear, of a place of survival, leading me down a path of choices that ended up leading me to a place, obviously, where I got a tick. Now, I never saw a tick, I never saw any of that, but I had been put into that place where I was able to do it, and it was because of lowering my vibration was I susceptible to it. Disease, dis-ease, all disease is dis-ease in the mind. And that's why it's so important that mindset, see, the body is just a slave to the mind. It responds to the mind. So I didn't know any of this stuff at the time, but what I experienced was a Kundalini awakening. I awakened to my true nature. I was completely reborn. All my pain, instant healing, more energy than I knew what to do with. And I had an understanding of life, of the way things work. Now, it's not, I've still been on this beautiful, amazing journey. And it's got some ups and downs, of course, but life is 1,000,000 times better than I ever could have imagined then. 1,000,000 times better. And I want that for every single person. And that's where I'm sharing my story. I had spent the last 3 years just digging down these rabbit holes of this beautiful, amazing information. And I had this amazing experience 3 years ago, and I didn't share it because I didn't know how. But I want people to know what's possible. And when I experienced that, I experienced the most incredible, unconditional love. No judgment, nothing like that. I was already forgiven of all the things that I had done. The only person that was judging myself was me. And that continued to show my belief in my life that I wasn't enough. See, now I understand as well that the inner world creates my outer world. So if there's chaos and disruption and division within me, then that's going to be shown in my outside world, and it's going to be reflected back to me. And it's not supposed to be a bad thing. It's to help me realize life is about lessons. And Lyme disease was just the best teacher, and it became my greatest blessing. But I just had to make that choice, that conscious choice, that I was going to beat it no matter what, without asking how or when. So I continued down that path until it happened, and what I affirmed happened. There was no judgment. The only person that was judging me was me. I was holding myself, and it was just the things that the world told me, that I thought the world was telling me, and I was a slave to life. I was unconsciously going through life. I was dead before. Even though I was breathing, I was dead. And I think I had a pretty decent life. I made a decent living. So it wasn't like I had these terrible traumas or anything like that. Like it can impact anybody, but we accept what the world tells us. And I had to overcome the world. I had to reprogram my subconscious mind. I had to let go and just believe that it could be done. And in 4 weeks, I was completely healed, reborn, and I am so grateful for the entire experience and everything in my life. The only person that was judging it was me, and I was taking this situation and that situation and making it bad, so I saw it as bad. But it was only trying to get me to be who I was always meant to be. Free, waking up excited every single day, seeing the beauty, all of life. And I want to help other people experience the same. Now, it's not necessary to go through. Everybody's experience, I believe, is unique. Everybody's healing is unique, but the process is still the same. And I didn't even know about people like Joe Dispenza or Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy. I didn't have any of that prior information. I only came across them afterwards, which I say that because I had the experience personally and then found out that this stuff is taught. Like there's people out there teaching this, studying this, and people need to know this information, that the body can heal itself through the mind, through faith, whatever faith that is for you. Universe, God, divine, source, life. But there's a greater intelligence, and we are one with that. And by directing my thoughts to that what I wanted, was I able to achieve it. As a person believes in their heart, so is it is done. And I had to feel worthy and just love myself. And that's why I talk about these things and share these things, about being grateful. See, I couldn't have changed where I was until I was grateful for where I was. But only could I see a vision of the future where I was healthy and better could I appreciate it, because then I could see it as a stepping stone. I can promise you life on the other side is worth living. It's beautiful, amazing. And I believe it is the birthright of everyone to experience life this way. So if you have questions, please reach out. I am happy to talk and help. I am here to help. It has revealed my purpose to me, and that is to help people get better and help themselves get better. I love you. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing one.